My name is Lieutenant Colonel Retired Tyrone Boast. I'm the president of H.O.M.E.S, Homeownership, Opportunity, and Mentorship for Economic Success. I would first like to acknowledge Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark for her diligence, her hard work, and her dedication to the citizens of Baltimore. She actually met us on a Saturday, twice, about this issue, and that does show concern for the citizen. Also, I would like to thank the people that are here to support this bill. Where y'all at? Okay. And I also would like to give thanks to all these petitioners, because we actually consulted the people in the neighborhood. We got their, we wanted to know how they felt about what was going on in their communities.
We want to make sure we can record it.
You want to see them?
Use the mic so we can get through.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so unlike a lot of these agencies, we actually consulted the people in the communities, okay? And we got almost 1,000 names on these petition forms. Some of them are still out. So, and what the petition says is to Mayor Pugh, the Baltimore City Council, Governor Hogan, the Maryland State Legislature, and the U.S. Congress, yes, I agree that we should, one, end the displacement of people from their neighborhoods and end the destruction of their communities just to give land and taxpayer subsidies to developers and investors. Two, introduce the 1% interest renovation/rebuilding loan dollar house, dollar lot program, because the house will be built from the ground up, for the individual citizen as a fairest way to ensure funds earmarked for the community are used to help the people who actually live there with training, jobs, and home ownership. Number three, end the destruction of the remaining affordable housing stock in Baltimore, a city with a documented lack of affordable housing. And by that I mean, according to the Urban Institute, for every 100 families that are looking for housing, there's only 43 units. And we're talking about destroying housing, affordable housing stock. And my brother's put together 15 of these vacant houses. And as soon as he gets one done, he's putting people in them. You know, they can't wait to get in them. Matter of fact, I put central AC systems in it. I'm a master plumber, master HVAC tech. I'm licensed master gas fitter. Some other stuff, I cannot talk about. But so I do have some experience in rehabbing distressed homes. Okay, as well as our coalition. A coalition is a group of contractors and other subject matter experts. And what got us together was we saw on the news where Governor Hogan and Mayor Stephanie Rawls Blake, then mayor, said that they're going to allocate $700 million to tear down houses in our communities. And we felt that there was a better way to spend these taxpayer dollars. And so we're offering up this grassroots. This is truly a grassroots program, okay? The citizens of Baltimore want this, as you can see by the attendance here. It's not crowded like this every day, I'm sure, when y'all have your meetings, is it? So the way this is supposed to work, what we envision is, and I heard a whole lot of scuttlebutt about where we get the money from. I would say to you, obviously the money, if you got money to tear down houses, $700 million to tear down houses, the money is there. Also, we found money to $660 million to give away for poor covenant. And I don't have a problem with that. I know development is important, but let's throw a bone to the working class citizen once in a while. They pay taxes too. So another thing about this program is there's a training component. In our organization, we have electricians. Okay, we have master craftsmen of all kinds. When we put these houses together, it's going to take carpenters, it's going to take plumbers, it's going to take electricians, it's going to take all kinds of craftsmen. The last time I worked for, I own my own business now, but the last time I worked for somebody as a plumber, a master plumber, I was making $35 an hour. Okay, we got the problem with, one of the main problems that we don't understand in this city with the violence is that a lot of it is social economic in nature. According to the Justice Policy Institute, San Antonio and Winchester has a near 50% unemployment rate for black males aged 16 to 64. Okay, so, and if you take a man, put him in jail, and pay $38,000 a year to incarcerate him, then set him back on the street with no skills, what do you think is going to happen? Okay, so while he's waiting to recidivate, he's making our neighborhoods unsafe. Just locking up people does not solve the problem when you're not dealing with the core issue of the problem. And in case you notice, we got a big drug cartel business running in Baltimore. With the drugs come the guns. And it's not about race, go to Mexico, go to Colombia. Same issue. Drugs, you gotta have guns to sell drugs. And so whatever they're shooting people for, the reason they have the guns in the first place is so they can sell dope. So if we give people, incentivize people to go to work, then they don't have to dodge the thug and the police. Okay, so the drug dealer, what I'm trying to say is the drug dealer shouldn't be the biggest employer in the neighborhood. And this is the thing that we're trying, and here's the other thing. Once you put that man on that street, you gave him a criminal record, so you almost made him unmarketable as far as getting a job. So that's the other thing this is meant to address, the ex-offender. You know, ex-offender are returning citizens. Okay, so we figure that, let's say $1, it's gonna take more than $1 to refurbish a house. All right, but the incentive is the 1% interest loan. And I think that's enough incentive to bring people out to buy a dollar house. I want one, you know? Anybody here want a dollar house? With 1% interest loans? Okay. So, let's say it costs $100,000 to, just off the top of my head, $100,000 to renovate a house. At 1% interest, then if you use your mortgage calculator, you'll find you'll have a $300 a month mortgage. That's quite affordable. I have a Chinese client. She's bought 60 of these vacant properties. And every time, as soon as you get them done, 2 weeks later, she's got a tenant in there. There's a lack of affordable housing stock in the city where you get $1,200 a month. $1,200 a month to live in the hood. That's too much. That's more than my mortgage. So this will work. I don't, all this stuff people are talking about, oh, nobody's gonna live in these communities. They live in them all the time because we restore these houses all the time. It's been going on. It's happening now. It's not gonna stop if we don't get dollar house, but I hope we do, because this is the voice of the people. And we've got to start listening to the people. And the reason we got the $700 million in the first place is because of Freddie Gray riots. They announced it in Freddie Gray's neighborhood. And as Dr. King said, a riot is the language of the unheard. So let's start listening to our citizens, and let's try to make something happen that works, that's been proven to work.
Well, I will say, we appreciate your diligence, your passion on this issue. I know one of the programs that you made reference to is the core program, creating opportunities for renewal and enterprise, and that is from the Maryland state government. So what you have is a number of entities, whether it be Baltimore City and then also nonprofits, who are doing neighborhood development, who are applying for some of those funds to do things like demolition. One of the challenges we have in Baltimore is that we do have some housing stock that is past the point of being rehab. Some houses are in such a deep disrepair that they're really impacting some of the houses on particular blocks. And so you look at some development projects that are on board. So part of it is the demolition, part of it is also for renovation and some of those other projects. That's not money coming from Baltimore City. I just want to be clear about that. So that's not money that we have to pull out. That's money from the state. So I just want to be clear about that. But I did want to ask a question about.
Can I answer that question? You just made. The point you just made. Can I address that? Yeah. Okay. We realize that that's state money. We get it. We understand that. So Homes as a coalition has actually met with state delegates in reference to this. Okay. One of the persons that we met was Delegate Maggie McIntosh, who is the chair of the Appropriations Board for the state legislature. She said that there is a way to divert some of these funds. If it just takes work. It just work. The stuff we're talking about takes work. People don't want. I get it. People don't want to do work. We don't want to do our jobs. We want a job. We don't want to do it. Go ahead, sir.
My question is about the 15 houses that you've done. So that's the totality, and then whereabouts are they? Because thinking about it, we talked about in terms of housing, are they on a single block? Are they scattered? I'm just trying to get a little clarity on terms of the 15 houses you mentioned earlier.
Well, my brother is buying these houses all over the city, and he's been restoring them. But my clients, I have clients too. I run a plumbing, heating, and cooling business. Okay. One of my clients is an Asian lady. And she's bought like 60, she wants to buy 100 houses, okay? She's bought 60 already, and she's restored them, okay? And so this can be done, and they're all over the city. It's not no certain block. But people want housing it isn't a certain block. People want housing so bad that as soon as you get these houses done, they're moving in them. They want to know when they can be rented. And the other thing about this program is if you're paying $300 a month for a mortgage, there shouldn't be high hurdles to you getting that loan. Okay, that's the things that traditionally have kept, I'll just say what it is, black folks from getting houses in the city, especially what happened with the housing crisis that we just had. and all the predatory lending that went on in Baltimore City. I'm sorry. Go
Does
ahead.
anybody else have any questions?
Okay. I had 10 good reasons, but I think I just about covered all of them, that this program was. The other thing about this that I did miss to say, if you take $94 million and demolish 4,000 houses over 4 years, which is what I read in the Sun paper that they intend to do, that's Mayor Blake and Governor Hogan announced in San Antonio, Winchester. If just simple division, you come up with $23,500 to tear down one house. So for each house you save with the Dollar House program, you already saved $23,500 that you ain't got to tear down. In addition to the tax revenue that you're going to get. And by the way, first and foremost, we're not asking for anything. This is a loan program for working class people. You're going to get the money back with interest. So don't think we're out here trying to beg for money. No, lend us some money. We'll restore the city. We'll train young men in the trades, and we'll do what we have to do. And then get out of our way.
You know, there was one piece, and I just want to be clear about it. We talked about, displacement, destruction, and thinking about affordable housing. One of the points I think we need to also focus on in the city is that we have a whole glut of housing. I mean, part of the challenge is that we've lost a significant population. We've gone from 950,000 down to 614,000. Those people didn't take those houses with them. We've had houses that have been vacant for 10 and 20 years. So some of those houses, again, albeit need to be demolished, but then some could and should be redeveloped for home ownership. And I think that's the key point we'll look at, affordable home ownership within our communities.
And I have a contractor as a member of our coalition that's going to address, the restorability of these houses and how it can be done.
Okay.
But as far as what you're saying is the population decline, Baltimore's been in decline during the last Dollar House program, which was a success. And because
in a targeted neighborhood, that's the other thing too. In targeted neighborhoods close to downtown. I think that was the other piece too. That looking at where those houses were, they were the places that were clear for the highway.
Buy a Dollar House that's not near the harbor. All right. So what we're saying is that the people that I spoke to in these communities. With all these petition forms, they come from all over Baltimore. Right. They're not interested in living downtown, but they want this program.
Councilwoman Clark had a comment or a question.
I'll save it for later. Well, let me ask it now. So you've heard what the agencies had to say. I've certainly heard what you've been saying and talking about and doing, and I'm very excited about it. But Mr. Bowles, after tonight, I think we've demonstrated the interest. You've demonstrated the interest. We need to work with these agencies to get this going.
Absolutely.
Are you game for that?
I'm game for working with whoever I got to work with to make this a reality and save the city.
That's all right. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there another member of your coalition who wanted to speak? Councilman Henry.
I feel obliged to offer one note of caution, which is I think that it would be great to bring back the Dollar House program, and I think we can do that. I think it's a mistake to try to act like the way to do it is to take the demolition money that the governor has wanted to give us to do demolition and use it for this. I say that it's a mistake for two reasons. One is that's money that he wants to give the city for a purpose that the city has asked for, because there are neighborhoods where there are houses where the people who live in those neighborhoods want those houses demolished. Okay, hold on, wait. Bear with me.
Stay in order, people.
Bear with me. We've heard a lot of good things tonight about the Dollar House program, and there are lots of houses in the city that would be good prospects for a Dollar House program. A lot of the houses that are targeted for demolition would not be good targets for a Dollar House program because they have been vacant and abandoned for so long that they are now in need of so much renovation, it wouldn't be cost effective to renovate them, not even for an individual person trying to do it themselves. And I say this, my colleagues know, before I was on the council, I was in community development. I worked for a nonprofit that rehabbed houses over in Patterson Park. There are houses that it just does not make monetary sense for an individual person to rehab them without some kind of subsidy or gap funding. And that would be something else we would need on top of a Dollar House program. So all I'm not saying don't do this. I'm not saying don't want to do this. What I'm saying is let's focus on doing a Dollar House program as opposed to focusing on not doing the demo program. They're two different things.
Can I address that? From what I've read, and I'm not as smart as anybody on this council, but
Please don't even.
from what I've read about this thing, $94 million is supposed to tear down 4,000 houses over 4 years. Then $600 million is supposed to be subsidies for developers. So
Wait.
I'm talking the $700 million that Governor Hogan announced in Santana Winchester. There's $600 million. That's the way they broke it down. I mean, if you Google it,
Okay.
you can get it off Google.
95 million. 95 million was for the demolition. And the rest of it, 600,000 was supposed to be for rate
600
redevelopment.
million.
600
Okay,
million.
all right.
So that's where the money comes from. So if you must demo some houses, do so, but you still have $600 million left to give away to developers. So why not use it for the citizens?
Where's the $600 million to give away to?
a
Are you
lot-
talking about Port Covington?
No, that's a separate issue. But they're talking about all these, like there'll be an announcement tomorrow. You have entities, nonprofits that have sought for funding, similar to what you talked about, to do neighborhood development. So they've come through with applications
Bernie?
and yeah,
it Bernie?
talking about core. So I mean, there are different stages of it.
Okay,
So part of it is demolition, part of it is also in terms of the redevelopment of those projects.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have one in West Baltimore coming. We have a few coming up. Okay. All right. You had other members?
I have other members, but I'm going to close by saying not only why do I believe this will be a success, because I think this is going to probably have to be a lottery to give these houses away, and not only that, it's going to spur development because you'll have something to build next to. There's going to be plenty of houses left. We want to get 7,000 houses, but there's 16,000 vacants and like 14,000 lots last time somebody counted. So there's plenty for the developers. We're not trying to take all the money, but they are. So we're just suggesting, just throw us a bone. Just throw us a bone. That's all we say. Just show the working class person a bone, please. It's in the midst of all this development. Well, that pretty much sums it up for me. I'm gonna have Mr. Ronald Stewart, a contractor. He's the owner of Reliant Contracting, explain to you how these houses can be mitigated. Thanks. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, I guess.
Evening.
Hello, everyone. And Mr. Bose asked me to come up here and speak,
Yes, please speak into the microphone so we can all hear you. Thank you.
to come and speak of my experience and expertise in home remodeling. I've been doing this for 23 years, all over Baltimore. I've never lived anywhere else. I live in Baltimore, in one of those dilapidated neighborhoods on Division Street, 1900 block. 1900 block of Division Street. I've remodeled my house. It's the best house in the neighborhood. People walk by my house and stare at it. These houses can be refurbished. They're row houses. They're built to last. They're built to stand. One house holds up the next. If the next house hasn't fallen down, you can rebuild the one in between. They did it in Federal Hill. They did it in Ellicott City. They do it all over Baltimore. So when people say these houses cannot be redone, I don't see it. I do it all the time. I do it every day. I'm doing it today. Tomorrow, I'll be doing it. With the houses in Baltimore, Silver Spring, Pasadena, all over Baltimore, I've worked. I did some of the houses in Federal Hill. Those houses are so small, they charging $200,000-$300,000 to remodel those houses when you could easily do it for a lot less. It's not that we're asking for an exorbitant amount of money to remodel houses that should be remodeled anyway, and the people that live there shouldn't be forced to move so that developers can come in and build bigger houses to sell to people that have money, because we don't have the money. We don't have the money to buy those houses that they're building in my neighborhood, 2 blocks from my house. They tore down a whole block and rebuilt it. We can't afford those. A dollar house program would give people the opportunity to own a house that they've been renting for years. It would give someone who don't even imagine owning a house the opportunity to own a house. And for $100,000, yeah, we could do it. Easy. The whole house. It could be torn up. Me and my partner, we do it every day. I think that it's more I don't know, business oriented to give it to a bigger company, but we have to eat too. I struggle to make a living as a business owner in Baltimore. Marine Corps, I've been in Marine Corps, I worked hundreds of jobs. I have licenses in carpentry, welding. I think this is a great program. And I'm behind it 100%. Me and my company.
Well, sir, I just wanted to say that we thank you for the work you're doing. One of the things that comes across with what you're saying, and we've talked about this amongst ourselves as well, that we definitely want to see opportunities for home ownership, opportunities for folks to invest in their communities and do that work that you've been doing. And again, we recognize, and even my colleague next to me mentioned earlier, that oftentimes it's the smaller developer or the individual who has a challenge. And again, we see more of the mid-sized developers who have an opportunity. So we want to work creatively with housing to make sure there are opportunities that will be available. So thank you for sharing your testimony as well.
Also, I think we're making this too complicated. You know? We're making this too complicated. A person wants to buy a house, you're willing to sell it to them for $1. You give them a loan, they get a contractor, they have a house. It's as simple as that. It's developers, they want money. They need money. You know, they need to do this, they need to do that. I'm a contractor. All I need to do is for you to tell me what I need to do.
All right.
You know, you get your own loan. You can go to the bank. I've did 203Ks. I've did all types of loans. And I know hundreds of contractors that'll do the same thing. Like I said, I just think it's way too complicated, too much bureaucratic mess.
Thank you for your testimony.
It's too much. And like I said, I've lived in Baltimore all my life. Started from the east side to the west side, and it's all the same. It doesn't matter what area you go in. It seems like they're developing the areas where people have money. They're not looking in the areas where we live at.
No, I'll say, as somebody who represents West and Southwest Baltimore, and some of the neighborhoods you're talking about, I definitely feel what you're saying. Darlene Gore, Ms. Gore, would you like to speak?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I've heard, and I'll start off, my name is Darlene Gore. I am a retired major from the Armed Forces, served 27 years. In addition to that, I figured out a way to also retire from the civilian sector of the federal government. So I spent 25 years working through the federal government and retired from NSA. I grew up in Baltimore City, so I make the joke all the time with the guys that I think I'm the only one, or I would say just a few of us, that are in this organization that don't build and fix anything. So I'm not here to say as a contractor, I can put a nail and a hammer and put a roof there. But what I can speak about is the heart of the people of Baltimore. when I look at the news and just walk through particular neighborhoods, my heart breaks. Because as a kid, I grew up in West Baltimore, in the Mondawmin Mall area. I also grew up in East Baltimore. And I do remember Mary Pat Clark coming through with Du Burns and just walking through the particular neighborhood. I remembered them saying, okay, we can do this, that, and the other to make this community stand. And I'm talking Preston and Patterson Park. So if we go through there and look at that neighborhood today, it is nothing like the community that I grew up in. And it was so much so to the point for them, for the perception to be there to say that people don't care, where my initial job, first job, was Baltimore Summer Corps. And in that job, my duty was to, we got out, we cleaned the neighborhood. Grass came up through the cracks. Anything that had to do with beautification. And I think they even had the Afro newspaper that had an Afro clean block. And we won the award time and time again. So I'm just here because I noticed that as we're talking, we're laying out policies, and I just want to give someone a chance to reminisce. Because what we see today is not Baltimore City. This is not the city, it is not the people, and yes, people have left, they're continuing to move because hope is lost. But this is not us. And you know, and if we're gonna put our pants on every day and come out and work, you know, I worked for IRS for 17 years. Cleaned up, came down, and did that look, had that personification so that I could do the role. And then to look back and say, hey, I can't even take a hand and help fix the community that got me to where I was or where I am today. So yes, I'm retired, 2 pensions, happily, I'm just happy. But I'm not that happy where I cannot look back and realize and see that there are people in that community that are suffering, that do not have the opportunities that I had. Because when I decided that I wanted to go to college, because hey, that's something that we're just trying to hopefully get someone through high school. But when I made my mind up to go to college, that degree was what allowed me to become an officer in the United States Army. In addition to that, once college, I finished, and you would say, well, what are you doing now? Guess what I'm doing? I just finished getting a bachelor's degree in theology. I'm now in seminary. So it doesn't stop. Once it's embedded in someone, it continues. Our job, I'm not just going to put this on the council people. I'm talking about anybody that's able and has the ability to stand up and say, this is what we need to do to help our community. This is what we need to do. So it's not about someone who's saying, I got a plan and this is the policy. What can I do to help this situation? And then, you know what, then I can really go home and rest.
Thank you.